Good evening and welcome to our next session about the student experience at UVM. My name is Annie Stevens. I'm the Vice Provost for Student Affairs, and tonight's session, first we want to really welcome you. We're getting down to where the rubber hits the road and getting to campus. We're very excited about you arriving, and those of you who have chosen the at-home option, we hope you're doing well, and certainly happy that you're tuning in and joining us this evening. So as usual in these sessions, we have a host of folks who are working hard to prepare for your arrival and the start of classes and all the things that come before that given the pandemic. So I will turn it over to them when necessary, and we'll begin tonight's session. So if I could have the slide move. So first of all, the logistics a little bit is just use the chat box to ask questions. We'll respond at the end of those questions as long as we, can have time to do that. And the content will also be delivered later. We'll put it up on the Return to Campus website, which is probably your best website to go to for any questions you might have about returning to campus, the logistics of doing that, and any support resources we can offer. And then turn on the closed captioning in your settings if you want to do that as well. So just a little bit of logistics there first. And then as we begin, here's what we're going to talk about tonight. It's really about kind of the phases that we need you to go through in order to prepare for being on campus. So the first phase is the decisions you've had to make or are still making, perhaps. The second phase is getting you prepared and getting you in tune with all the things that you need to do to get here safely. And then really phase 3 is your arrival, a little bit about logistics about move-in and dining and some basic resources for you as you come to campus. And then last but not least is next week, next Tuesday, the 11th at 7 o'clock, the same time, we're going to do a whole different session on just what you can expect as the student experience, like what campus is really going to be like when I walk around, what services are open, what services are kind of a mix of virtual and in-person. So tune in and set your calendar for next week as well for that one. All right, we'll keep going. So the decisions that you've had to make so far, and I really appreciate, and on behalf of everybody at UVM, appreciate all of the patience and goodwill that you are putting forward to help us through this time. And here's just a summary of your decisions already, and maybe some of you are still making those decisions. We've extended the at-home deadline to August 30th. For those of you who realize that maybe your schedule is primarily all remote now, or just wanting to learn more and giving you more time for the at-home option. So those are the two things you need to do first. You need to decide if you're going to be at home or on campus with us in person. And then, of course, there's quarantine options. Hopefully you have decided with your families what quarantine option is best for you. The on-campus option, if you want to be with us on campus to quarantine, absolutely starts August 14th. So that's something you should have already filled out to do. Or you can be in your local area off campus in the apartment or housing in Vermont, in a private lodging in Vermont, or in another state following all the guidelines that we have sent to you. And for on-campus residents, we'll have a move-in timeline as well. So the quarantine update, just to briefly kind of put a nod to this, because I know that we certainly have sent you, or Provost Prelock sent you an email recently letting you all know that we have even further really expanded our testing strategy even more, as creating an even better way to bring you to campus safely. So that testing strategy includes a pre-arrival test. So regardless of the county you might be in, even if you're in a safe county, by all guidelines, you really should still quarantine by the time between you take the test and the time that you arrive on campus. And that will just ensure the safest possible knowledge and information for you, for your family, for us, to know that you are as healthy as possible as you are arriving on campus. Next slide. So Raf, I'm going to hold it over to you, to our Executive Director, Rafael Rodriguez, to talk about roommate assignments and what's going on right now. Raf?
Thanks, Annie. Good evening, folks. So we have reached and passed the August 3rd deadline, which I think most folks are waiting for, to hear a lot more information about their housing, their room assignment, their roommate assignment. So I can happily report out that we've completed nearly 4,600 room assignments and roommate assignments that we've shared. We still have roughly 250 roommate requests of students who are in the same learning community, meaning both students are placed in the same learning community and have preference each other, that are unmet. So we have about 250 of those. What we've decided to, what we're going to be doing throughout the next couple of weeks is making sure we can arrange those and reassign those. So if you have submitted a roommate request and or send us an email for anyone who's in your current same learning community and want to room with someone, have a preferred roommate, we'll work and do our best to complete those by the time of moving. We're going to start with anyone who submitted a trading spaces request and is in the same learning community as their preferred roommate who did not get that request met. So if you submitted one, you're both in the same learning communities, but that request was not honored, we're going to start off getting those folks reassigned. And then after that, any emails that have come in, again, of students who are in the same learning community choosing to live together, we will then move over to emails. We're going to respond to those in the order they came in. Okay, so if you send us an email, we'll start from the bottom of the list and work our way up, if that helps. Again, we hope to accomplish and complete as many of those as we can before moving. We have a couple of deadlines and processes, including our first move-in, which happens this weekend with RAs, and then our quarantine folks. So we might not be able to get to all of them, but if we don't, no worries. You'll be able to do a body for body swap, and we have a message going out to you that explains what that is once you get to campus. So when you arrive at campus, if that request was not met, you can simply do that request in person on move-in day or anytime after that. Aside from that, we have about 150 folks who are requesting to change learning communities for any reason. This learning community does not suit me, or I want to change my learning community to move to another space. Unfortunately, those will not be possible until we open up trading spaces in the fall. Essentially what happened is we had a lot of space open up because of the at-home requests, but as you all realize and have heard, we had to take off 250 beds for quarantine and isolation, and then on top of that we had to de-triple. So we sort of netted the same amount of numbers. We wanted to make sure that everyone who was already assigned to our learning community was allowed to stay there. So the movement across learning community was a little bit less than we expected. Everyone got to stay within their learning communities and be in a double. We're going to work on getting folks already assigned to the same learning community to be in the same room. Again, if you're choosing or hoping to exit and move to a new community or move to a new community in order to live with someone, that most likely will not be possible. We're going to ask folks to just prepare and be ready to move into your current learning community assignment for the fall. Once you get off the campus, in a few weeks, we'll open up trading spaces. And we anticipate that between move-in, now and move-in, we might have a little bit more space as more students potentially decide to stay at home.
Great, thanks so much, Raf. And now we kind of move into that preparation phase where Vice President Gary Durr will walk us through all the things you are supposed to do before your arrival. And Raf will also, again, walk us through a little bit about preparation for moving into the residence hall. So Gary, you want to kick us off?
Excellent, Annie. Thank you very much. And it's great to be back together with everybody again tonight. And we're excited that in just a few short days, folks will be back on campus again. I want to take you through a pre-arrival checklist requirements that you have as you prepare to come to campus. As Annie mentioned to you last Friday, you received an email from the provost, Dr. Patty Prelock, which outlined information about the new testing protocol that we put in place for all students. As Annie mentioned, we believe and we are committed to making this the safest possible experience for all people. And that's why we decided to add this extra test in there. It's fairly simple, that all students will be tested before they come to campus. And if you test positive, you need to stay home, or if you're living off campus, you need to isolate in place. And we'll be here to support you through that and talk you through the various things you need to do so that you can start in the semester as early as possible. Emails will be going out over the next couple days, hopefully even some tonight, to you with a unique code in there. Do not share that code with anybody. It's a unique code for you. You can log in and then you'll have the package sent to you, the test kit sent to you, and then you'll get information about needing to sign up for a quick telehealth appointment with a Zoom person where actually what they have to do is observe you giving the test. It's a saliva test. It's non-invasive. It's very simple. And then you'll get the test results probably back in about 3 days. One of the reasons we're saying to kind of plan in 5 days there is because you've got to order it, you got to get it, you got to mail it back. They have to process the test results, and then you got to get the test results back. And then a part of that involves you driving to campus. We want to make sure you follow through on that and give you time to do that as well too. So there's more information that's coming in the mail. As again, I said, the information about how to sign up for the test is going out over the next 3 days. The second thing you need to do is UVM has set a requirement for all of its faculty, staff, all of its employees, that we all had to go through a training program before we were allowed to work back in person. What we wanted to have all members of our community is to have a single set of knowledge and information about COVID-19 and the precautions and what you need to take. So what you need to do is sign into Blackboard, and then there you can sign up and take the test, take the training course, excuse me. And at the end, there's a self-assessment, and we expect you to score 100% on that. Also contained in that, we've talked about this several times, is the green and gold promise that we're asking all students to sign, and that's at the end of that. And I would add too that all employees are signing a similar, slightly different green and gold promise, because we all want to be in this together and we all want to be healthy and safe. One of the important things that's going to be really essential for us this fall is that we have up-to-date emergency contact information. And for those people that are living off campus, your local address. Please go to My UVM and go in there and update and make sure that information is up to date and current, and phone numbers, cell phone numbers are in there so that we can get in touch with you if we need you. I've talked a lot about the pre-testing. I'll talk a little bit about the testing during the year. All students will go through a day 0 test. For those of you that are living in the residence halls, you'll do that day 0 test when you arrive. And for those of you that are living off campus, you'll be scheduling it the week of the 24th. And then for the first 3 weeks, all students will be doing weekly testing. It'll be done in the Davis Center on the lower floor, and it will be at your convenience. And the center will be doing the test from probably 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at regular intervals in there. To help with this process, we're implementing what's called Co-Verified app. It's with the institute it's a partnership with the institute that we're using for the testing. You will download the app, install it on your phone. It also has a web-based portal as well too. And what that will be is the way that the center will communicate to you your test results. The other really important thing about that app is it's going to be used for the required daily health screening. And what you will need to do is every day, just get up, take a minute, jump on your phone, jump on the computer, and just report to us that you have no symptoms of COVID-19. And if you do, that information will get routed to our health services, and we'll then be in touch with you about what you need to do. And probably the most important role that that app will provide is that it will give you the scheduling options. You'll be able to go in there and sign up for your weekly health test right on that app, and then you can go to the Davis Center and get it done. The other important thing prior to arrival is that you received information on alcohol EDU and Haven student modules. All students are to require this and to check your email for unique link on August 15th. Next slide. So I mentioned already one app, but we're trying to make this as easy for you as possible because we know that for those of you that are returning students, there's a lot of changes this year, but for those of you new students, a lot of things to take in really quickly here. So we're using 4 apps to make this as easy as possible for you. Our dining partners, Sodexo's, are implementing an app called Bite. This is for mobile food ordering, dining hall space reservations, and arranging for meals to go. I've talked about the Co-Verified for testing times and symptom tracking. Then we are implementing, and we've been planning this for about a year now, an app called Live Safe. And this is for campus safety and alerts, and it will be available to you to download on August 10th. And what it is it gives you ability to track information on campus. It's a quick emergency reporting system to our police services. If you travel anywhere in the world, it immediately connects up with the local 911 and emergency services. You have the ability to indicate that you're walking from one place to another and let somebody know, and to track them on their app. So I think you'll find it a very robust and very helpful app when you come to campus. And the fourth app we'll be doing is called UVM Compass. And it's going to help you with all the great Welcome Week events that we have planned for you to get you in and involved here at UVM. Next slide. So those of you that have opted for the at-home learning option only, and we thank you for that. We also want to make sure you update your emergency contact information and local addresses. You also need to complete the Alcohol EDU and the Haven Student module I talked about. Also, download all those apps and have those handy for you. Take some time to prepare for your learning. We've got a lot of information out there on our website about support services for those students both on and off campus, as we offer more and more courses in really enhanced learning modes. All of our departments are going to have information on their sites about the various services that are available to you, whether you're in person or remote. You'll have information on programming, counseling services, academic advising, academic support services. Go to those sites, reach out to those services, and find out how you can take advantage of them, whether you're on campus or whether you're home in your home state. And we really just look forward to see you all in virtual classes and participating in other programs and taking advantage of all the great things that UVM has to offer. Next slide. And I think this goes to Raph.
That's you.
All right, folks, so a few things to bring with you as you prepare for the fall. Of course, you will bring all the nice pieces of clothing and materials and supplies and your favorite stuffed bunny that reminds you of home. But a couple of things we really want to walk you through and remind you to bring with you is some personal health items, a thermometer, some healthcare amenities, extra masks. You will receive some from us, but it's never a bad idea to have more, a couple more on your side. Some personal cleaning supplies, so you can really focus specifically in your room on disinfecting any spaces if you have any guests that come by. We want folks to bring the Learning Community book. It should have been received in your mail not so long ago. Any textbooks order that you have can be picked up at the UVM bookstore and or shipped to your home. So it can be shipped to your home, picked up at the bookstore, or delivered to your residence hall. Please know that also at the UVM bookstore, the website, you can rent a micro fridge and also purchase a micro fridge. Those are two options for you. And you can also have your laptop orders fulfilled and shipped to either your home or for campus pickup on August 14. This is me again. So a couple of things. We have some folks who will be returning to campus and some who have selected to be at home who either store their belongings or had their items packed and moved to their new room for us. I want to walk us through a bit around what you can expect when you return, and if you're not returning, what you can expect in terms of coming into retrieving your items. For anyone who had their items moved into their new room location or stored with our vendor and selected at home, please know that your items will be shipped to your home. We'll get an email out to you no later than tomorrow with details about that option. It's not really an option, it's actually the only thing we're going to do is make sure we ship it to you as soon as possible. We've worked with our vendor to begin shipping those items as early as Monday, so please expect an email from us about that. If you ask for your items to be moved into your new room location for next year and that location has switched, we have already moved those items into your new room assignment, so you should be all set. For anyone else who's returning to campus and had their belongings stored, you will be able to pick up your items between August 25th and 29th. We're working with our campus partners and our vendor to identify a central location where you all can go and pick up your belongings.
Great. Thanks so much, Raph and Gary. And now let's move into the third phase and talk about your actual arrival. and what needs to happen. And it's going to be me and Raph and then Gary toward the end here to kind of walk you through what arriving will look like in the residence halls for dining and on campus in general. So let me start off by saying, first you need to know that for returning students and new students, your CAT card will not work. You will arrive on campus with it being deactivated. So, and the only way to get it activated is to do these three things that you see on the slide, which is completing the pre-arrival test, as Gary went through, to do the health and safety training and sign the green and gold promises support part of that, and that's on the Blackboard site, and then take your day 0 test once you are on campus. And for residential students, that's the day you arrive. And for off-campus students, that'll be during the week of August 24th. So I cannot stress to you enough the importance of you completing these tasks so that we can activate your CAT card, and then you'll be able to access dining and cat scratch and buildings, all the things that you'll need to do when you're here on campus. So next slide. So Raph, you want to take us through move-in for residential students?
Absolutely. We're actually talking about the August 14th move-in, which is for our students who are quarantining. So that is a very specific process. We already have looked into some of the questions, so folks are asking about when they'll get more information about that. And again, I think the university will send a broader message tomorrow. But we want to lay out tonight for you the 3-step process for students coming to campus to begin quarantining. The first step is check-in, and that simply is coming to your residence halls, your assigned residence hall, where you will be able to pick up your keys. Mom and dad, if they're coming with you, are able to help support you and get you moved in. You'll be able to unload your items and then come back to the very front desk where you'll be checking in at and return your keys. After you return your keys, you'll get a nice little voucher that says, okay, you're ready for step 2, completing your testing. You're going to report to a central location, and at that testing location, they're going to verify that you've completed your green and gold and the VOSHA staff training, or student training, I should say, the safety training. And they're also going to give you the day 0 test, and Michelle will talk a bit about what that is going to look like. Once you've completed your day 0 test, you're all set with your testing requirement, you move on to step number 3, which is beginning your quarantine. At that step, you'll check in at the University Heights North main desk, and you'll receive your key to your temporary room, where you'll be spending about the next 8 to 9 days until you are able to leave quarantine. So those are the 3 steps. We have absolutely no specific time for move-in, with the exception of the broad window between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. for students to check in. We want to do that for a couple of reasons. We know that folks are taking flights from far distances, and oftentimes folks will need some layovers. So we want to give individuals enough time to come to campus and to get here safely. We also know that because we have no shared equipment, and we won't be providing any shared equipment like move-in trolleys or bins, we want to give folks enough time to move their belongings into their room. So those are the 3 simple steps you'll have to follow for move-in on August 14th for all of our students who are going to be quarantining on campus.
Great. I want to walk through, folks, the next slide. We'll talk about that same population of students who will be quarantining on campus, and just a little bit about dining during those days. So the first 48 hours while we're waiting for your test to come back, that day 0 test, we call it, that arrival day test, you'll get your 3 meals delivered to you because you won't be able to leave your room. So make sure that when you unpack your belongings, as Raph just described, in your permanent assignment room, make sure you're bringing like enough to live with, right? A little duffel bag of stuff that you will be able to live with over in your quarantine room assignment, and make you comfortable during those 9 to 10 days that you'll be in quarantine. But meals will be delivered to you during the first 2 days until your test results come back. When your test results, hopefully, right, fingers crossed, will come back negative, then you'll be able to go get your meals, go outside, be in a cohort, if you will, with the people on your floor, and do the things you need to do, but still in a cohort and pretty well scheduled So we make sure you can't go downtown. You won't be able to go to a lot of places. You just have to keep contained. That's the whole point of quarantine, right? And then for those of you who have dietary needs, our dining partners will be emailing you. So check your UVM email address a lot. They'll be emailing you if you have any dietary needs during this time to make sure that they can prep your meals appropriately for you. And just in general, just so you know, this is a different part. This is not included on your meal plan contract. Your meal plan contract actually starts on August 25th. But so this is separate. So you will be charged $187.50, which if I do my math correctly, it's about $6 a meal for those 30 meals that you'll be with us during quarantine. And now, Raf, it's back to you for more about all students move in.
A little ping pong here, so me then you. So let me go through the general move-in process. As you know, you've already selected your move-in time. Just a bit of a heads up, if you want to change that time, you still have the option to go in there and change and shift the time so long as the cap for your specific move-in block has not been met. So if there's still some changes you have to make, feel free to go ahead and do that. But folks, you all know that if you're not quarantining on campus, your move-in date will be between the 25th and the 29th. August 24th is not a possibility for move-in date, unfortunately. But between the 25th and the 29th, generally, not everyone has that access to the 29th. But for you, you just need to know that there's 2 steps for this move-in process as opposed to 3. You have already quarantined at home, so that step is completed. You have 2 steps left for this day. That's the first is to check in, same process. Check in at your main desk. You'll be picking up your keys and receiving instructions on the testing site location. When you check in, you'll have time with your parents. I think everyone's allowed, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, at least 2 individuals from the same household. You have to be confirmed. 2 individuals from the same household to support you in the moving process. Once you finish moving in, we're going to ask you to head over to your testing site where they again will walk you through the process of picking up your CAT card ID for students who don't have them, activating those IDs, ensuring you have completed the Green and Gold Promise as well as the student health and safety training, and also making sure that you complete your day 0 test. So those are the 2 steps you'll need to know and remember for your move-in time.
Great, thanks, Raf. Now let me talk a little bit about dining that same 5-day period, right? So that arrival week where different people will be moving in over the different days that Raf just described, dining will be, all the meal plans will be active. All 4 residential dining halls will be open. So Simpson, Harris, CCRH, and Trinity will all be open. But it's all going to be grab and go out of those, right? And we'll also have some retail selected venues open as well. And then once we start the first day of classes, and from then on in the semester, we'll have limited seating in the 4 residential dining areas, a little bit of seating in the Davis Center, and then everything is primarily grab and go, and seating in the 4 residential dining areas at a distance. So everything will be in eco-ware. You'll be finding different places to eat on campus, and not primarily eating in the dining halls unless there is space available in those 4 residential areas. Most of our dining locations will be open. We're only going to close the Waterman Manor. We're going to close Brennan so we can have more seating in the Davis Center. We're going to close the Cyber Cafe in the library, but Campus Perk will be open. And then there's a small little kiosk in Jean Mance that will be closed, but everything else will be open. The hours might be a little different. Okay, now we're going to go over to Gail Champnoy, who is the director of our Office for Student Community Relations, and she'll talk to off-campus students a little bit about what it's like for their pre-arrival, as well as living in Burlington, and how will you be supported during the time of quarantine. Gail?
Thanks, Annie. And for all those coming, welcome. If you're an off-campus student, I want to let you know that we do have support for you off campus, both through the city and also through the university. The city has a supportive quarantine program. And if you go on there, you can sign up for it. You're going to get a nice package of goodies. They give a gift certificate to you. And most important, I think, are the daily check-ins. And I've talked to students who have been in that program, and the daily check-ins have been wonderful. They're sharing pictures of their pets and about what advice they would give to other students, because quarantining can be lonely and you can miss that connection. But the city has made a really nice process for all of you to have that human touch every day while you're quarantining. And I really recommend for you to do that. I think it's been really helpful for the students that I talked to. I also wanted to let you know that our office provides support and resources to you once you're off campus. So if you have a landlord-tenant question, you have questions with your roommates or guests that come over around COVID regulations, we offer tips for how to have those difficult conversations. We are very pleased from our surveys to see how many of our students living off campus have already had conversations with roommates. 63% of you have already had a roommate plan, and over 96% of you knew about quarantining. So kudos to all of you doing this hard work. I know that Vermont's done very well with COVID, and I know that we all want to play a role in us keeping that success up, and quarantining is absolutely important. And also, there's enough stress in life, so don't think you're going through this alone. And if you can always email our office at oscr@uvm.edu, and we'll be happy to help you motivate and move yourself through your off-campus experience.
Great, thanks, Gail. And now we're going to hand it over to Dr. Pavlov, who will talk to us about testing.
Good evening. So we've been talking a lot about testing, and I think it's time that we should look through this timeline. So it all starts today with the launch of the pre-arrival process through Vault. So as soon as you get your code, get that going. You want to take and mail your Vault saliva test within 5 days of your departure to campus. Then when you get to campus, you're going to get your day 0 test at the Davis Center testing site. For students who are already living in Burlington, you're going to need to have your Vault test mailed no later than August 26th, and that's in preparation for the start of the semester on the 31st. Off-campus students, you're going to get your day 0 test at the Davis Center testing site starting the week of the 24th. And then as classes start, 1 week after classes start, all students are going to get their day 7 test at the Davis Center testing site. And then weekly until September 18th, we're going to get all students tested at the Davis Center testing site. So it looks like a pretty solid process there for making sure that we're all safe. Now we'll talk a little bit about the day 0 test logistics. We've heard about the day 0 test. So this test is you're gonna walk over to the Davis Center testing site. Right in the Burack Lounge is where we're gonna have our testing center set up. When you're there, you're gonna bring your CAT card if you have one. If you don't have one, this is where you'll get your CAT card. You're gonna take the test, and this is the self-collected, really non-invasive test that just goes right into the front of your nose. You do it yourself, you collect it yourself, somebody watches you to help you through how to do it, and then you drop it off. So it's, it should take not very long, less than 5 minutes for the whole process, hopefully. After you take your test, your card's going to get activated, and then you're going to receive your health kit, which is going to be water bottle, hand sanitizer, and some UVM face masks. Now let's talk about what will happen if you if your test comes back positive. So if it comes back positive, you'll get a call from us at Student Health Services. We're going to tell you about your positive tests. We'll talk to you about symptoms if you're having any. If you don't have symptoms at the point that your test is positive, we'll tell you what symptoms to watch out for. We'll talk to you about the length of the isolation, which is 10 days from the start of your symptoms, or 10 days from the date of your positive test if you don't have symptoms. So for on-campus students, we at Student Health, we're going to help you get to your on-campus isolation space, which is in one of the residential halls designated for this. Dining services will deliver meals to the isolation spaces, and residential life staff will be available to support you for the accommodations while you're there. For off-campus students, We will be offering an off-campus housing option. Often, isolation space can be in your bedroom, in a shared apartment, or your own apartment, but off-campus isolation housing is available if needed. And for all students who have to spend time in isolation space, Student Health Services will check in with you daily by phone or video calls. Like Gail was talking about, it's that human connection. We'll try to make sure that you have some human connection, and you have your laptop, so you'll be able to do many things virtually. I think it's up to you now, Gary.
So one of the things that we have created on campus is a way for you to have one location and one site that's available for students, their family, faculty, and staff to go get general information. It may be that the folks in the center will pass that off to other people, but we've created the COVID-19 Information and Service Center. They're the folks that are going to be working with the Student Health Services on the testing strategies there. They'll be helping you with the daily screening process. They also might help you if you've got a question about a class situation. They need to refer you to the academic department, or if you've got a question about dining, they'll connect you up with the right area. But one place that you can go to. The email address is up there, uvmstrong@uvm.edu, and shortly we'll have a phone number that we'll be posting on there as well, and we'll be having staff that will be covering that and answering that call for you. But what we wanted to do is try to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to get the information you need to be successful at campus.
That's great. Thanks so much, Gary. And this really does conclude our presentation tonight, but I want to leave one more tip to join us next Tuesday night when we talk about when you're here and what life will be like on campus when you all arrive and what it's going to be like this fall. So make sure to mark it down with August 11th, 7:00 p.m. and we'll talk to all the services and support resources that'll be available. So now I think we'll just go over to questions and answers and do that for about 30 minutes and be patient. I'll try to read the questions off and then choose which presenter tonight is best to answer those questions. So I think we're ready and open for questions. And let me start with a few here. Will there be any regular COVID testing after September 18th? Michelle, you want to talk about what that'll look like after September 18th?
Sure. So what we'll be doing on September 18th or around September 18th, leading up to September 18th, is to really look at what's been happening with the testing, what the results have been, what does COVID look like on the campus and in the community to really inform the decision for what regular testing we need to do moving forward. And we will share that with everybody once we figure it out.
Yep. And then, Raph, can you talk a little bit more about the communal bathrooms, the common area bathrooms that people will share, that students will share in the residence halls, and the cleaning for those?
Yes, I can. So we are, first I should say, finalizing our protocol for how we want to treat those spaces. What we have developed so far in place is that those bathrooms will be cleaned twice daily by our standard staff. We also have a special staff that will be working on an off-hour schedule, anywhere from 12 noon to 8 p.m. And they'll be focusing on what we consider high-touch areas. Those are any doorknobs, restrooms. So we have a regular cleaning. It's not going to be expanded to twice daily. On top of that, we have this additional crew that comes in between 12 noon and 8 p.m. It's when our students tend to be most active to provide additional cleaning and disinfecting for those spaces.
Great, thanks. And for students who are forced to take in, here's another question. For students who are forced to take in-person classes for their majors, is there any way for professors to offer online option section for students to switch into the case that they don't feel safe on campus this semester? Gary, you might want to take this one. If students are sick, they will not be able to attend class in person. So it's more about the academic experience.
So we work very closely with our faculty all summer long to develop a whole slate and a whole collection of courses to offer both in-person, hybrid, which will be half in person and half or some percentage in person, some person remote, asynchronous and synchronous courses throughout this semester. We've updated the schedules, we've moved all the classrooms around there, and we're kind of fixed with the class schedule right now. So what you see there is what we're able to offer in the various modes, and it's clearly in that listings there for you.
Thanks, Gary. And I do believe that professors will be as flexible as possible. If somebody is tested positive and they need to go into isolation, that they will try to do whatever they can to make sure that you're caught up on your academics to do that. The next question is, why has there been a change from every student getting tested twice a week for the entire semester? Is there any regular testing planned after September 18th? Michelle answered that one. Gary, do you want to answer the first one about changing our testing protocol?
Certainly. So we've been working very closely with the Vermont Department of Health, our own doctors, epidemiologists, our own public health officials. And as we were assessing the strategy around the testing, we considered a variety of options. And with adding in the pre-testing, we decided that the twice a week testing wasn't as critical because we would know the state of everybody with regards to COVID-19 before they got here. And then the regular cycle, as we get into the semester, we felt that once a week was sufficient. And as Michelle indicated, we're going to assess that about the middle of September after about 3 full weeks of testing, and then make a decision what we're going to do. We may continue weekly. We may up that if we start to see the need of it, or we may back off even some more so that it meets what are the best public health policies around trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Great, thanks, Gary. And I think there might be some families here because the next question is, are parents allowed to visit you on campus? And I can take that one. Actually, family members and guests are not allowed on campus after the day of arrival and moving in. And that is just to prevent making sure that we don't have people coming in and out of the residence halls, that we don't know who they are and we don't know where they have been. And we're trying to keep those residence halls as safe and protected as possible. So thank you for your patience. I'm sure students can stay connected with their families virtually and connect in those ways. Next question is, Redstone Apartments considered on or off campus? For these purposes and every intensive purpose, it's really Redstone Apartments and lofts are considered off campus. The university does not manage them. While it is on campus land and property, we do not manage their policies or rules. Let's see, what else we've got? Will on-campus quarantine rooms have private bathrooms? Raph, can you talk a little bit about the on-campus quarantine situation?
Yes, and I'm gonna assume that we are talking about the quarantine spaces that students will occupy as of August 14th. I know sometimes we mix up quarantine and isolation. So if we're talking about quarantine spaces as of August 14th happening in University or being housed in University Heights North and South, part of the reason why we're quarantining there is because we have suite style bathrooms, but also private bathrooms and some setups with just shared bathrooms between 2 students. We're only going to put 1 student in a room, and that will allow us to have the least amount of shared bathroom spaces than any other residence hall. So again, at most, you'll be sharing a space with a restroom with 1 other additional person.
Great, thanks, Raph. The next question, Gary, I'm gonna throw this one to you. How long do we have to quarantine before taking the pre-arrival test? And do parents have to be tested as well?
Okay, so this gets into the whole Vermont quarantine requirements. So what I would say is it depends a lot on the county you're coming from. And if you go on the Return to Campus website and on ResLife site, several places there's a link to help you guide through what your quarantining requirements are. So if you're from one of those counties and you're opting to quarantine at home for 7 days and then get the test, a negative test to then get out of quarantine, what you should plan to do is build in a few extra days into that 7 days, do that test through the mail-in that we're giving you, but then quarantine until you get the results. And if you get the results, I hope you're negative, you still need to quarantine before you come to campus. Because what we want to make sure is, even if you're doing the 7 days and doing the at-home tests that we're providing to you, that you have a continuous quarantine before you come to campus and you get your day 0 test.
Great, thanks, Gary. I think I can get the next one, which is bedding provided in the isolation space, or does the student need to be prepared to bring bedding with them? They do need to be prepared to bring bedding with them. So they can use the same bedding that they were going to use in their permanent residence hall assignment. They can just bring with them to their isolation assignment. I am assuming right now that this is talking about those students who are quarantining on campus for those about 9 to 10 days with us, but they can and should bring their own bedding with them.
We can also share some information about isolation spaces.
Great, go ahead.
As for quarantine spaces, they should be bringing their own linens and bedding. For isolation spaces, we have purchased not an infinite supply, but some. As you can imagine, if you have a positive test results, if you go back to your room and try to grab some belongings, you probably don't want to bring your sheets, or you probably have too much going on. So we work really closely with Michelle's team to make those available. We do have some kits for folks who might need a pillow or forget a pillow, or might need some bedding for the isolation spaces. That's for folks who have received a positive test.
Great, thanks for catching me on that one, Raf. And next question, is there a charge for EcoWear? And I don't believe there is a charge for EcoWear. We're trying to encourage students to use EcoWear as much as possible, so we don't have to use a lot of packaging on campus. Next question is, once we help our student move in on campus, will they be able to leave the campus, for example, having dinner in Burlington? Gary, help me out on that one. I think they probably will. They can arrive right on campus, move in, and kind of move around the Burlington area.
So actually, no. So
No.
If you are needing to, if you are coming to Vermont and not planning to quarantine family members for a period of time, you need to act as if you're quarantining. You need to stay in place, stay in your hotel, limited time on campus, but then you need to act like quarantine. You can't be going out to Church Street, going out to go shopping and stuff like that, because you need to quarantine. Because what they're saying is you can come and stay, but then you need to leave the state within that short period of time.
Yeah, I knew that, Gary. I don't know why I answered that one. Thank you for checking me on that one. Here's one that sounds a little bit more specific. Let's see, my daughter's scheduled to move in on Wednesday, August 26th. We're driving straight from New Jersey. Well, that's a long drive. The email that came out today says take and mail the test no later than 5 days before departure if living outside of Burlington. My concern is UPS FedEx shipping to return the test. Can she take the test on Friday the 21st? If not, the test can't get shipped out until Monday the 24th, and she might not have her results in time to move in. So it's more about what if there's not enough time in between the time they take the test and moving in. Gary.
So I think I'm rereading the dates there. So I would suggest, can she take the test on Friday the 21st and not, if not, the test can't, I would take it on the, early on the, do your thing, first thing on the 24th, put it in the mail. They would get it on the 21st. And what day are you moving in? The 26th? You know, take it on Thursday, the 20th, and be on the safe side there.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Is there any way to start communicating the new information about COVID testing via text message or through alerts rather than email? So many students aren't checking email over the summer. I think we'll just take that into advisement. Email is the official way we do check and communicate with students, so they should be checking their email regularly. I know texting is easier, or alerting. We'll try to see if we can set that up, but right now, I would just continue to encourage students to use their UVM email address. And they're going to need to get used to that all 4 years too. So this is a good time for them to start remembering to check it. Is there a way to start, did that one? How long are students move-in helpers allowed to stay with them on campus? I would say that if the student has some helpers with them on campus, they should just move them in and then go back to wherever they need to go to, because we want as few as people as possible in and around the campus at that time. And as Gary just reminded me, especially if family members and they have not been going through the same quarantine processing, they really need to not be in and around the residence halls or moving around Burlington at all. Let's see, we'll keep going. From Danielle, when will we be sent quarantining on campus details in writing? And please review the timing of the overnight testing deadlines. Thank you, Danielle. Yeah, we will. We know that the pre-arrival testing can be a tight timeline for some folks, but just try your best to get that pre-arrival test done before 5 days before you arrive, and you should be good to go. Do you have advice packing a COVID backpack in the event of a positive test? Michelle, is there anything particular you think it would be good for students to have in case they are positive while on campus?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think it's probably a good idea to have a list of things that like to think about, and have a list of things you would want to take if you had to spend 10 days in a space other than your dorm room. And it's not an extensive list, but just the necessities that you will need, so that when if the time comes that you have a positive test, you can just calmly go through and put all the things you need in a bag and you're ready to go. I don't know that you need to have a backpack ready to go, because it's not going to be that fast of a process that we need to have it like ready at the door, but definitely having a list or thinking ahead what you would bring with you.
Great, thanks, Michelle. It sounds like being in labor and you have a little bag by your side and ready to go there. And Michelle, I think the next one's for you too. What happens if my test is negative but my roommate is positive? What will happen there?
So if your roommate is positive, they will be moved into an isolation space, and you will be tested again depending on when when you were last tested. And then you more than likely will be on quarantine in your room for 7 days, and then we'll test you on day 7.
Great, thanks. And I think a few of these are yours, probably, Michelle. Our test results in advance of arriving, email back. You should get your test results back. That's the whole point. To know if you've tested positive, you should stay home, right? And quarantine, get healthy again, quarantine for those 10 days again, 14 days, and then come to campus. But if you test positive on that pre-arrival test, the whole point is that you should not come to campus, but you should stay home, quarantine, and then come back. And Student Health Services will also receive a copy of the results of your test. So we'll know if you're not able to come to campus, and we'll help you from there. And then, can you have visitors from out of town in your dorm? No, you cannot. This whole point is that folks in the residence halls really can't have guests or visitors. You can be in and around the halls, but not from out of town. According to the quarantine information site, out-of-state students can opt to take tests 7 days before arrival and quarantine until arrival. Is that now 5 days as indicated by the recent email? Yes, it is. So the pre-arrival test is 5 days before you arrive. Gary, am I right on that one?
You're right. I think what's a little confusing in the question, the way it was stated there, is the Vermont quarantine requirements that you have to quarantine for 7 days. And then if you get a test negative, you can come right to campus. What we're doing is we're adding in that option of the pre-test if you can't get one in your home state, or if you're home health department or your primary care physician. But if you do the one that we mail for you, because it's a mail-in test, it may take longer to get the results. So what we're saying is build in some times. The other thing with the Vermont quarantine requirements is you can opt to do a full 14-day quarantine requirement at home and not do the 7-day followed by test, but you still have to do our pre-test.
Okay, and Gary, I think the next one is for you too. Regarding submitting pre-arrival tests 5 days before arrival, is that business or calendar? Isn't that calendar days?
I would, they say there's a little bit of a lag time over weekends. So I would focus on maybe counting 1 day over the weekend versus 2 days, because I think it isn't. And I just want to give a quick update because I know there's a number of first-year students on this call and families. As many of you know, there's been a little bit of a weather incident on the East Coast, and we had some problems getting the codes because they lost power. But I just got confirmation that we're going to be sending out all the codes for the testing for first-year students this evening.
Oh, great. See, live, up-to-date information coming to you from UVM. Let's see, next question. What happens if kids need medical assistance after testing positive? Michelle, do you want to answer the support they receive if they test positive?
Sure. So students that test positive, whether they have symptoms or not, are going to get a check-in at least daily from one of our nursing staff. That could be by phone or video, depending on students' preferences. And we'll check on them. If it sounds like or seems like, and they're really good at telling this even over the phone, the students are having medical problems or having trouble breathing, we will get them the help they need and more than likely get them transferred to the hospital right away. So we'll be on top of that.
Great. And Michelle, this is for you too. Will parents be notified if there's a positive test after the students arrive on campus?
The student will be notified if there's a positive test, but the parent won't be. So it'll be up to your student to notify you.
Okay, great. So yeah, students out there, call your parents or guardians if you do end up having a positive test, so they don't have to worry about you and know that you're safe. What is the turnaround time for the weekly tests? That's usually about 24 or 48 hours, right, Michelle? 24
hours is what we're being told right now. So
great. And then if you're coming from an area designated as one where you need to quarantine before coming to campus, one of the options is to take the test after quarantine for 7 days. Is that test in addition to the pre-test? I believe, Gary, you just said that pre-arrival test can be used as your day 7 test.
Yes, it can be used for your day 7 test, but if you opt for a local one, you still need to do our pre-test because we want to have record on everybody.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so if you're in the local area, safe counties, you should still do that. Good to know. Can you leave campus and go home for a weekend? No, you may not. You are here from the time you arrive through to Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving you need to make a decision about whether you're going to stay for Thanksgiving with us on campus or go home and not come back. So you're here for those days. Again, this is all about creating a bubble in Burlington. Let's put it that way. And you cannot burst the bubble of Burlington. This is how Vermont and some of the states in the Northeast have been successful, is that we get here, we stay, we hunker down together, and we ride this through. So traveling in and out of the state or around is just not going to be permitted. If a student is arriving by plane, can items be shipped to their campus address to be picked up on August 14th? Raph, this sounds like yours. Things like bedding and towels will be needed during quarantine, but are difficult to fly with.
Yeah, I get it. They will be. I would be very careful to maybe separate those items out and label them differently. Your student might decide to not pick up those items or all of them until they leave quarantine, which will be before move-in occurs. So just be mindful that if that's something you want to find right away, that you either, I would recommend pack them differently or separately and label the boxes. But yes, you can ship items, and our front desks are open as of today. Actually, we begin to receive a lot of boxes and materials and supplies that parents ship here.
Okay, Gail, it looks like the next question is for you. Are there any resources for students living off campus that live in Winooski? What about surrounding towns, Gail? Do you know much more about support for surrounding towns?
I know that Burlington's the only one who has a supportive quarantine program. And I'd say if you're living in the surrounding towns, our office is the best resource for you. So again, contact us at oscr@uvm.edu.
Great, thanks, Gail. And those who are quarantining in a private residence, will there be testing at UVM available for them? Gary, help me out here. Is that, I guess there's some assumptions here. Is that a private residence in Vermont? And then will there be testing at UVM available? The testing will be day 0 testing.
I'm going to pass that to Michelle about testing options in the area.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should have so if this is a student who's quarantining in a private residence in Vermont, I imagine they're looking for that day 7 test to be released from quarantine. So depending on the timing, could that be the vault saliva test? Maybe. We have been exploring the possibility of offering the COVID Service Center testing at the Davis Center as an option to these groups of people who are quarantining either in private residence or hotels off campus, but in Vermont. And then also there's lots of pop-up testing options available through the Department of Health, and you can look up Vermont Department of Health pop-up COVID testing, and you can get a list of the possible testing resources in Vermont.
Great. And Michelle, will stay with you on what is the efficacy of the saliva test versus the nasal swab test?
Yeah, they both are PCR tests that are looking for the RNA of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. They just use a different sample, like one is the saliva and one is the inside of your nose, but both are very accurate and very specific, so very sensitive and very specific for this virus's DNA.
Great, thank you. The next one is about where to dine on campus, because seating in the dining halls will be limited. So Gary just confirmed with me today that we hopefully will have 2 tents in and around the central part of campus, since that's where most students will be during the day with classes, in-person classes. So we will have some very large tents for students to kind of be under, and they can choose to eat there. They can go back to their residence hall room if their class is close to that. Basically, and if it's nice outside, which the fall tends to be really pretty and nice, they can certainly eat outside. And those are all the eating spaces. And the Davis Center will have some space. We're going to hold Brennan's aside, perhaps, for some space for dining, as well as the Mansfield room will be held for dining as well. So there's not all spaces will be totally off limits. The next question. My daughter signed up for a roommate, but she does not know the roommate name has been listed, but no roommate name has been listed on a room assignment. Will she receive a roommate or will she be in a room alone? Raf, do you know if they've signed up or if they've heard already if they would have a roommate?
Yes, well, we're still assigning some additional students that are being admitted, so it depends if she's a first year or a transfer student. So that it's possible that she may be receiving a roommate and or is assigned to a single. So we would need to look into it further, but both are a possibility.
Okay. And then next, Matt is asking, has the Co-Verified app been launched yet? You can't find it in the Google Play Store. Michelle or Gary, when does that Co-Verified app launch? And I know there's a difference between being able to download it and then signing into UVM too.
We expect that the Co-Verified app will be launched later next week.
Okay, great. So Matt, check back into the Google Play Store later next week for that app. Can you take the test before 5 days before going to campus? Take the test before 5 days. Michelle, could you take the test before 5 days of coming to campus? You know how the pre-arrival test is 5 days before you come. Can you take it even earlier?
No, we really want to take this test within 5 days of arriving on campus, so we can see what your viral situation is at that point in time. So if you take it before the 5 days, then things can happen before that day 5 and your arrival on campus. So we really want it within 5 days of arrival.
Okay. Raph, the next one is for you from Mac. He's asking more about disregarding roommate change requests. Are the current room assignments final?
So as we mentioned before, what we're doing is learning community placements, or the desire to move from one learning community to another. Those are final. What I mean by final is those are the ones you should be preparing to move into. Once you get onto campus in a couple of weeks, we'll open up trading spaces again. So the form is not open currently. We will open it up again and allow the process of trading spaces to begin. So your learning community assignment is final until move-in. You should plan to be moving into those spaces. If you are in the same learning community as someone and you requested a roommate, as I said earlier, in that same learning community and it was not honored, we'll be making our way through those requests and those emails in the next couple of weeks. And again, we hope to get to as many of those as possible before your move-in time. And if for some reason we don't get to it before your move-in time, on move-in day and at any point after that, you can do what's called a body for body swap. And I realize I use some inside language. And what that simply means is you and the other roommate who want to live together and everyone else assigned agreed to do that switch. You can do that on your first day of arriving onto campus. So again, we're going to try to not have you all do as many of those as possible. We're trying to do those in advance for you, for your roommate requests within the same learning communities. But for folks who are looking to switch learning communities at this moment, that won't be possible before moving.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. And David asked a good question. If UVM decides to go 100% online, well, deciding to go, it's going to be, not. Sometimes might not even be up to us. If we have to go 100% online, will on-campus students be allowed to stay on campus until Thanksgiving break? Gary, you want to talk about what might happen or the conditions by which we'd have to go 100% online and if students would be able to stay?
So that's an excellent question. And there's a lot of variables that we're going to be looking at in the area that will help us in our monitoring the situation. As some of you may know, the decision actually to go remote, we initiated it in the spring, and about the same time as we went fully remote, the governor issued his executive order for the stay home, stay safe. So it is likely that if we end up having to go 100% online, it is because the situation in the area warrants that type of distancing, and likely students will not be able to stay in the residence halls unless there's emergency situations for that.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Raph, I'm going to go back to you. Will residential life start moving roommates that weren't matched without any warning? How quickly will we know if we're moved?
Yeah, it's a good question. So roommates, and we're thinking about those are rooms who were de-tripled. So if you were in a group of 3 and were de-tripled, if you have a new roommate preference and we're not able to get those to us in advance, when we requested those from you, if you have a desired roommate in that learning community now, again, email us. We are going to respond to those in order they come in, and we'll do our best to get those processed by the time of move-in. Was there another part to that question that I missed, Danny?
No, I think that was it. I think you got it.
Okay, cool.
Well, it basically said, how quickly will we know if we're moved?
Not today, not tomorrow. Give us some time as we work our way through these. Our goal is to get these done before move-in. But if you have that person identified already, if we don't get to it by the time of move-in, just come into us on move-in day or anytime after that, and we can execute that process in person as well.
Okay, thanks, Raph. There's a question here. I really don't know what it's asking. I'm so sorry. What do we need to know if our child has a room with a bathroom? I'm looking at Raph. I don't know what you need to know if your child has a room with a bath, like cleaning, like bring cleaning supplies, perhaps? I'm
going to assume that's what it means. And I think it's not an unambiguous question for me. I kind of know exactly where they're going. It means a couple of things. We're going to be, if they have a private restroom, they'll have disinfectant wipes and a cage of disinfectant wipes put in their bathroom for them to sanitize those spaces because they are responsible for cleaning those spaces. And we want to make sure they do a better job than they typically would, particularly as it pertains to disinfecting. So we have some professional grade disinfectant wipes for them to clean them, wipe down any areas that they should, as well as some signage around how to disinfect those restrooms. They should be bringing in some personal cleaning supplies. And what you should know, both you as your parents, but more importantly, what your students should know is that if it's a private restroom, they're responsible for cleaning it.
Okay, thanks. Wow, Raph, you knew way more about that than I could even imagine. Okay, so Gary, I think this is for you. Do parents who are helping students move in or coming from out of state need to quarantine prior to arrival in Vermont?
You do not, but you should check with, if you're staying in a hotel, you should check the hotel. They may have very specific requirements that you need to be with quarantine. And again, what I mentioned earlier, you need to come here and act, you need to behave like you're quarantining for 7 days, even if you're only staying overnight or for a day there. You have to quarantine in place here. If you don't do it before, if you do 7 days of quarantine at home or 14 days, 7 days with a negative test, you can come here and do what you want. That's the requirement to get into the state and to move about freely.
Okay, thank you. And Gary, do you know how many students have opted to stay at home, the stay-at-home option? I don't know if I know the updated number.
The last I heard is about 1,300.
Okay, thanks. What are the library protocols and hours? Gary, do you know those? I know we were just talking about those, I think, today.
Yep. So the library has been a challenge. I mean, returning students, you know that space well. A lot of small study carrels and a lot of tables to work around. So we're having to significantly reduce the number of people that can be in the library at any one given time. I don't believe the hours are going to be significantly reduced. There may be some on some of the later night hours where there's just not been a lot of traffic in the past. There's going to be some grab and go options. We're going to limit the number of people in there at any one time. Those of you who've been on campus know there's the bridgeway between the library over to the Central Campus Residence Hall. That will not be open this year. That will not be able to come from Central Campus into there because that creates a lot of additional traffic in there that we're trying to limit.
Great, thanks, Gary. Let's see, Michelle, this one's for you. We have many friends that have received presumptive positive tests that when retested were actually negative. How is UVM ensuring they aren't quarantining students who are actually negative but show up as positive?
Yeah, this has been happening a bit lately. These are false positive tests. This happens with a different type of test than the one we're using. There's an antigen test out there that is not a confirmatory test. It has to be confirmed by a PCR test. We are using a confirmatory type PCR test that's very accurate and very sensitive, and don't anticipate having any false positives. That said, there was some false positives that happened in some states due to mishandling at the lab, so that's kind of out of our control. But we picked a really great test to try to get the best, most accurate results.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Great question. And Gary, what do we do if we don't have the vault test in time and have a plane ticket to come to UVM?
So I would say if you get in that situation, I mentioned earlier that service center, contact the service center and we'll work through you for some options.
And this next one, so all students, even Vermonters, need to quarantine after taking the home test? Gary?
Yes, that's correct. So what we're trying to do, and it goes back to the strategy we're having here, is trying to create the safest start of fall semester possible. So what we want to try to do is limit the exposure you have to people that could have COVID-19. So yeah, take the test, quarantine, come to campus, and we all get off to a great, safe start.
Great. Raph, apparently some folks want to know, what do the numbers in our room assignment signify? Is there anything about the numbers in a room assignment that they need to pay attention to?
Not that they need to pay attention to, but I don't want to have folks too concerned about that or share misinformation. So what I will say is your room is broken down to the bed level. So it's not the number of folks that are in the room. It's not the rooms. It's how many beds are designated for that space. You might be in bed number 3. It doesn't mean you're in the triple because we have none this year. It means that the original layout for that space had 3 beds in it, and you just happen to be in the one that we have labeled number 3. So no big concern there. No worries about what those numbers mean. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. And this person says, I've been told by some nurses, Michelle, I think this is to you, from whom I received nasal swab tests that saliva tests are unreliable. Have you assured that these pre-arrival saliva tests will not be faulty?
I think to the best of our availability, we have chosen a company to partner with that reports very accurate data on the reliability of this test. That's another reason we chose them. It's a PCR test. They're very reliable. So I'm not sure what information the nurses have been, seeing that we have not. So.
Okay, thanks. And one question is, do we have classes on Labor Day? You do not have classes on Labor Day. So there you go. That's good. We have a day off. And when people end up partying or gathering, okay, you stopped me, you're right there, in large numbers on campus. Okay, that can't happen, but I like that you're asking the question, but that just cannot happen. Will RAs be responsible for breaking it up? Yes, but really, I don't want to put it on the RAs. This is on everybody. The RAs will be around and available, but this is really up to all students to figure this out and to stay healthy. Raph, I don't know if you want to say any more about RA's responsibilities or what will happen there.
I will say in addition to RAs, really our full-time staff on the residence halls will be responding, as well as if there's anything that's over max capacity or any other concerning behavior, we may have to get other folks involved, including police services, depending on what's happening in these spaces. But we really want to just discourage this behavior. It's what's going to impact our ability to remain open.
Yeah, that is so true. And we really have to have students take responsibility for those who are hosting these kinds of gatherings, whether it be on campus or off campus. They're going to take a lot of responsibility, and that could end up in the conduct system as well. I don't want it to end up in a conduct system, but folks have to know that if they are hosting these kinds of events, it could end up in a conduct process. Gary, one person asked, what are some benefits to quarantining on campus? So starting August 14th, which they should have already signed up for. So I'm hoping it's not too late of a question.
So I think there's a lot of benefits to it. One, first, you get to hang out with some potential, classmates and friends you're going to get to know on campus. One, you get the day 0 testing. We'll take care of your meals while you're there. You'll have some social opportunities there, and you'll get your day 7 tests. And when it tests negative, you can move back in the residence halls. I know a lot of people contacted us trying to find places off campus, hotels, or other locations. This gives you the opportunity to do it right on campus. You can move your belongings into your permanent location on the 14th, go to the site, which is near there, and live there for the period of time while you're in quarantine.
Right, thanks. And Zoe asked, I can't log into my CAT card. Is it because I haven't taken my COVID test, training, and pledge? Zoe, most likely all the CAT cards are going to be deactivated right up until the time that you take your day 0 test, which is your arrival day test. If you're living on campus, if you're off campus, it's the test you take the week before classes. But most likely, yes, your CAT card is not going to be activated until that time. Another question, how are you going to support students who have so much extra responsibility to manage the health, even as they are adjusting to being a first-year student? Yeah, well, there's just a lot of people, right, who are in your same boat. You will not be alone. There's great staff around. Offices will be open with at least 1, maybe 2 people in them, and there's always a way to get a hold of us virtually. So for first-year students who might be feeling the loneliness of that experience, I just encourage you to really reach out and let us know that that's happening. You're not alone, and we will try to do some programs that both virtually and in person that cut down on that sense of not being able to interact as much as you would have in another different year. And you'll find people in classes, right? Too. You'll meet others in classes. Where am I? How many people can help move in on the campus quarantine for the students quarantining on campus? It's really only about 2 people, right? Yeah, Gary just gave me the signal of 2 people can help you move in. Another question, it seems that many people had a difficult time with CAT card application, picture uploaded, but they were told they were late turning in the application. Any idea when this might be fixed or how to verify that the app went in? I would just contact the CAT card office for any concerns that you have about your picture not being uploaded or what's going on there. A few more questions and then we're going to wrap up, but I love that you're asking these. I love that we're doing these sessions, and I hope you're getting some good information. I wasn't assigned to my requested roommate or my requested learning community. Will I be able to socialize with students in other residence halls, or are there restrictions? Raph, do you want to talk about socializing among and between residence halls?
Yeah, and we've established that will be okay, and it's actually not something we want to deter. We will allow students to connect with other students who are living on campus. We want to deter anyone who's off campus from coming on, anyone who's what we call non-affiliated, and someone who's not associated with the university, so that we can maintain our bubble. You'll be in classes with these folks. You'll see them around in dining halls. So long as you're maintaining social distance, you can visit and you can connect with these other students as well, whether or not they're in your learning community.
Great, thanks, Raph. This question just kind of, I feel for these folks. We need to drive over 3,000 miles and to leave this Friday, the 7th, in order to make it there for August 14th. Quarantine on campus check-in. How can we get the pre-arrival test right away? Gary, what are your thoughts about them doing the pre-arrival test if they already have to leave this Friday?
Well, I would say that, if the person, so if the person's a first-year student, the codes went out while we were on the call here. If you're not, the next wave of codes are going out tomorrow, and I would order it as fast as possible to do there overnight. And I think we may have lost Annie. Are people still on?
Hi.
I think we might have lost Annie.
I'm back. I just got back. I got kicked off. Sorry about that, everybody. You never know with technology what's going to happen. You just have to be flexible. Let's pick up at our trading spaces within learning communities frozen. Raph?
Yes, they are. They're frozen until folks return to campus. I think we have another question there, for example, from someone asking, I'm not required to live on campus, but I'm waiting for housing. Part of why we're freezing this is because we still have students deciding and changing their mind from at home to on campus who are required to live on campus. So we have to have a space for those folks. We also have other students who are requesting housing. So we have frozen it until students return to campus. Annie, I was going to ask you if I can get a few seconds to talk about quarantine housing requests.
Yeah, please go, Raph.
So two things. We have amended the form, so it's still open. If you want to request on-campus quarantining up until Friday, that's still an option for you. We want to make sure that students have the opportunity to request this as long as they are able to. So we want to shut it off on Friday in order to prepare and get your rooms and keys ready, but folks can still request on-campus quarantine.
Great. There is one question here I want to make sure that we answer. Will there be any non-virtual orientation for new students? We're going to try a little bit of non-virtual, maybe like yoga outside at a distance or other kind of fun things outside at a distance. So we will try to, weather depending, right, to make sure there's some activities, especially for our first year students when they first get here. I am going to take that moment where I got kicked off of technology to wrap us up tonight. Lots of good questions, and please know though that we'll be back with you next Tuesday night, talking more about the experience, but really happy to have you all here. I want to thank our presenters tonight and those with so much information to share. And I hope you're all staying safe and well. We can't wait to see you. For those who are coming to campus and for those of you staying at home, be safe and be well and have a great night. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye.